Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hey everybody, Alex Stephenson and Jake Faas here. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. Mortarpod is brought to you by SeemsGoodMagic.com, where you can currently see a bunch of Cons of Tarkir drafts. I believe I'm up to number 8. Finally found a little bit of success, believe it or not, Jake, in Cons of Tarkir draft. So I managed to do a Mardu Warrior beatdown and win with that deck, so that was pretty fun. Some things I've kind of noticed about this limited environment just so far is the most common turn 3 play is just a Grey Ogre, basically, a morph spell. So I kind of feel like 2-drops in this format, 2-drop creatures rather, are much stronger than they formerly were in probably any other limited set I've done. It's just, you play like a Highland game, or you even play that Wetland Sandbar.
Yeah, both of those are so easily expendable too.
Yeah, you don't care if they live or die, and your opponent certainly doesn't want to trade a morph dude for it most of the time. So, I mean, if you're getting in 4 points of damage with your 2-mana 2/1, I would say they're already doing their job. So, I just had a super heavy 2-drop deck. I probably had 8 to 10 2-drop creatures, and just a couple morphs. And splashing red, so it was mostly white-black. But I had 2 of the Lord that boosts, the 2-drop 3/2 Lord that also boosts all warriors. And that card was just insane. So I managed to beat people pretty efficiently with that, and I was a big fan. So I'm starting to learn the format a little bit better. At least I think I am. So more drafts on the way there. Check out SeemsGoodMagic.com. Check out TravelersOfStoria.com if you have not already. You can watch the video I've posted where it sort of gives you the rundown of how the game works and the story flavorfully and stuff like that. This week, we've got a brand new Make-A-Wish. We've got Cyclical Evolution continuing Odyssey block. Jake, you ready to dive into it?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, let's do Make-A-Wish first. So this week it's October. So it's we're in the month of October, and this is Halloween month. So I figured for the rest of this month we'd do horror movies for Make-A-Wish because this one was a lot of fun. Jake had quite a big hand in helping me design this set, and he came up with some of his own originals and his own mechanics, so I'll sort of let him explain those. But as per usual, Nightmare on Elm Street, I've arranged our custom set cards sort of chronologically. The movie starts out with you see Freddy Krueger, but you don't know it's Freddy Krueger yet. In a boiler room. So Freddy Krueger is 2 colorless, 2 black, 2 red. He's a mythic human demon, 6/5. He has a mechanic called Dream Demon. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may destroy target tapped creature. And then he's got First Strike, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, its controller loses 3 life. So what I had in mind when I designed this set was tapped creatures are the sleeping creatures. So I thought it worked pretty well. It flavorfully, aesthetically sort of worked pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's fine too. That was the first place that I went when I was thinking of this set too, was that you would have to have some sort of tap mechanic or something related to being tapped.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I wanted to make sure, since Freddy Krueger, I usually am I feel like I'm the overly conservative designer, and you're sort of the overly, let's make some sweet cards.
Yeah.
So I feel like we have a good balance in the middle when we come at each other with ideas. But when it came to Freddy, I wanted to make sure that he was definitely strong. And his is cool too because he's black and red, which is like the same as his, sweater and stuff. So
yeah,
he just feels like a cool Magic card.
Yeah, I think that's the exact right combination to, I mean, I don't know. I don't really see any problems with this card.
Hmm.
I think maybe he could have had like Death Touch. That would have been sweet, and he could have been a 6/4 if we wanted to tweak him and make him a little better. But overall, I think he's got a good, you know, a 6/5 is still going to kill a lot in combat with First Strike.
Hmm. Yeah, and I like the whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, its controller loses 3 life is sort of like him griefing everybody's friends. When he kills
Mhm.
somebody in their sleep, it sort of griefs everybody else, which is how I got the its controller loses 3 life. But
Yeah.
yeah, he'd be a powerful mythic. I don't even know if he'd be good enough for constructed necessarily, but he would destroy unlimited, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure.
So next is Boiler Room. We'd been making too many, or at least I had. I'd been making too many legendary lands, so I wanted to just make a land, just a non-basic that was still cool. And Jake sort of tweaked this one a little bit in a way that I ultimately like more. So Boiler Room is a uncommon land. It enters tapped, and then it taps for a black or a red mana, obviously for Freddy Krueger. And then the Greater Evil ability is this is Jake's mechanic. Um, so Greater Evil is if you control a black creature, some sort of effect or some sort of ability can't be activated unless you control a black creature. So basically, Greater Evil is something happens based on whether or not you have a black creature. In this case, this land has Greater Evil, tap, pay 1 life, tap target creature, and you can activate this ability only if you control a black creature. So turns your land into a creature tapper, which would be extremely powerful, which is why I think it needed the pay life on it, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think that like the fact that it combos so well with Freddy too is really crazy, you know. So overall, it just needed to be a little limited.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, colorless tapping of stuff is pretty
Hmm.
powerful. So needed to set you back a little bit. But I like that. I like ultimately that card a lot. I think Boiler Room turned out really nice. Next is Freddy's Glove, and Jake, you designed this one, so maybe you can sort of talk what you had in mind. It took me a little bit to sort of pick up how it all works, but I like it a lot. It's cool.
Yeah, I kind of went through a few different versions of it initially, because I kind of wanted it to be a power toughness booster, but in the end, I felt like really it was just a murder weapon, so just use it like that, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so the first ability that the creature gains is, or I guess the only ability it gains is tap to destroy target tapped creature. And then whenever a creature dies, you exile Freddy's Glove and add 2 black mana to your mana pool. So that's kind of like, I guess the dream or the nightmare is over for that person. They're dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's back in the dream realm or whatever.
Okay.
The black mana is just there as really that's just a mechanical thing. You know, that didn't really have a flavor, a
I think
reasoning
it still
flavor
kind of
wise.
works though, too.
Yeah. Um, and then Greater Evil ability is if you control a black creature, you may activate equip abilities of Freddy's Glove from exile. So it all kind of goes together where you can machine gun it if you want, if you have
Hmm.
the creatures available. And they have tapped creatures out. But yeah, so basically, if you were to equip from exile, it would enter the battlefield, but wouldn't be put on the stack in any way, except for the equip ability would be put on the stack.
Hmm.
Um, so it'd be similar to like a Banisher Priest or Banishing Light, I guess, is more what I mean. Um, where the creature just comes back to the battlefield. Now there's no triggered ability associated with it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that it worked within the rules and it was kind of a unique thing. So make it a mythic, and I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool in the end.
I'm happy with it too. I think it turned out nice. Even the thing that you said was just more of a mechanical design with the add 2 black to your mana pool. I think Freddy, it's almost like Freddy getting the glee out of killing somebody is sort of
Hmm.
like adding mana to your mana pool. Like lets
Yeah,
him.
I mean, there's definitely like a reason for it, right? Like it wasn't just like he wasn't just stalking like the kids of the parents who like did that work, was he? Or in the first one he was,
He
but
in the
then
first
later
one
on,
he was stalking the kids of the parents that had burned him in
yeah,
his. So he was seeking revenge and
But eventually it becomes not that, right?
yeah, I think you're right. Eventually, it's just he's well, I don't know. They tend to always kind of tie it back to some sort of relationship to Freddy.
Hmm.
Um, but I guess what was really cool uh, about the first one, or not cool necessarily, but interesting, was originally they had Freddy Krueger as a child molester. I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah, in the 1984 version.
In the original, just the script of it.
Oh, the script?
It
Okay.
never made it past that. Interestingly, they changed it to child murderer because right about the time this was finishing production, there was like a slew of child molestation cases in California where they were filming it.
Mm.
So they thought that it was going to hurt their project since Wes Craven just stated the most despicable thing he could think of was like a child molester. So obviously he wanted his antagonist to, be that, but they had to change it to child killer. They didn't have to; they were just out of fear they changed it to child killer.
Yeah.
But
That's
originally,
funny
Freddy
too,
Krueger
because
was supposed to be a child molester.
there's some pretty overtly like sexual things that he does too,
Yeah, to
you
Nancy
know.
Thompson, the protagonist in the story, like whether it be licking through the phone or
Mhm.
going between her legs with the claw in
Yeah, in the bathtub.
yeah.
Yeah.
So absolutely, I agree. It almost seems like they had written it with, sort of a rapey vibe in mind, but
Hmm.
then they put the kibosh on that. But then when they rebooted Nightmare on Elm Street, and I hated that movie,
I
they
didn't see it.
actually
So.
they made him a child molester in that one,
Oh, okay.
so they went back to it. Um, but let's continue. So that's Freddy's glove, 3 mana, legendary mythic equipment, two to equip. Tina Gray is the next one. So the story starts. Freddy's in the boiler room. Tina enters the boiler room. She's obviously having a nightmare. And Tina is 2 and a white for a 1/4 legendary human creature. And then she has tap. Up to 2 target creatures gain insomnia until end of turn. And insomnia is as long as this creature is untapped, it has protection from red and black. So Tina grants 2 creatures. Basically, if they're untapped, they can't be hurt by Freddy and his shenanigans. It was the flavorful aspect of that mechanic. And the reason that Tina gives 2 creatures insomnia is as her flavor text is all day long I've been seeing that guy's weird face and hearing those fingernails. So the whole point was she's sort of creeping her friends out, which is why she's giving them insomnia.
Yeah.
Um,
I
next we
do
have
think that
oh,
the
go ahead.
name Insomnia might be a little like I don't know. It might not be white enough, you know. I know it is the white mechanic, but something like Awaken might have been more appropriate. But it still works within the story, like because it can be a darker theme set too, you know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Insomnia maybe doesn't sound white. It needed to be a different like name.
But it works though, like you know, Innistrad had Morbid in it, and there were some, you know what I mean, like
Yeah, that's
so.
true. Um, But yeah, I sort of looked up insomnia to make sure I was even using it right, and it turns out there's just all types of different forms of insomnia. So it definitely applies. You can have like short-term insomnia when in high moments of stress.
Mm,
So it turned out insomnia does work. But you're right. I was kind of hunting around for other words, but I felt like it just evoked what I would feel if I knew Freddy Krueger existed. I would definitely, I think, develop insomnia.
yeah,
Um,
you wouldn't want to sleep.
yeah. All right, so next we have Nancy Thompson. She's a white and a blue for a 1/2 legendary human. When she enters the battlefield, other creatures you control gain vigilance until end of turn. She has vigilance and she has insomnia. So she sort of is trying to keep her friends awake, which is why she gives them vigilance. She has vigilance because she knows when she goes to sleep she's going to get hurt, and then she has insomnia. So ultimately, Nancy pulls Freddy from the dream world, and because she knows that's the only place she can do battle with him and actually, hurt him.
Hmm.
Moving on. So after Tina tells Nancy her story about the nightmare, and they sort of come to the realization that they're both having nightmares about this man, and they also had this the next card, which is called Haunting Lullaby, and this is a classic part of the movie, and it retains. I think they keep doing it throughout the entire series. It's those little girls skipping rope and singing. You know that song, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that was always very creepy too. They
It
always
was.
have it during their nightmare. So the next card is Haunting Lullaby. It's 2 black, 2 red sorcery, and it's destroy all tapped creatures. And then the flavor text is 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. And then I think it goes all the way up to 9, 10. So
Yeah.
um,
I do too. I think that is the last line.
it was very creepy though, Haunting
Mm.
Lullaby. And I sort of, for this card design, I mean, obviously, flavorfully, it's supposed to be you're destroying all the sleeping people. But white typically got this ability from what I saw, the destroying of all tapped
Hmm.
creatures.
And Black gets it with assassinate style cards.
So
Um.
that's how ultimately the same justification I came up with for why it was okay in black and red. And
Yeah.
it's color intensive enough, I think, where you can justify having it at 4 mana. I think typically white has it at like 6 mana,
Yeah.
so a little bit cheaper than normal, but considering all the colored mana symbols, I think there shouldn't be any real issues with that card. Um, Next we have Glenn Lance, played by a very young Johnny Depp. This might have actually been his first Hollywood appearance. And Glenn is 1 and 2 white for a 2/4 legendary human creature. He has untap target, tapped creature. That creature gets +0/+2 until end of turn, and then whenever a creature you control untaps, gain 1 life. Um, so flavorfully, he was supposed to be the sort of watchdog for Nancy. She tells him, well, in the flavor text, I want you to be sort of a guard, okay? So she knows, or at least she has a hunch at this point, that if she goes to sleep, she can get hurt. So she tells Glenn to keep watch on her. I think Glenn ultimately ends up sort of failing and falling asleep while watching her, which doesn't
Yeah.
quite do the same as what this card does. This card is designed with if he could actually do his job right, then that's what he would have done. But he's supposed to be like shaking sleeping people and waking them up, and then since they're waking up from the dream successfully without dying, you gain life, and they're getting more tough because they encounter Freddy and survive.
Hmm.
So I think he's probably pretty good card overall. He would be pretty playable and limited as well, I think. Um, Next we have Rod Lane, who is Tina Gray's boyfriend, and he's a green and a red. I'm kind of happy with how he turned out. He's a green and a red for a legendary human rogue. He's a rare. He has first strike. Whenever another creature you control dies, you put a suspect counter on Rod Lane, and then as long as Rod Lane has a suspect counter on it, all creatures must block it if able. So he gets a lure effect when another creature you control dies, and he gets the suspect counter because he's suspected to kill Tina
Right.
when she dies, which is the next card. So Jake designed this one. It's called Dead Sleep. 2 and 2 black, instant, uncommon. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. If that creature is tapped, exile it instead. So you can see in the picture, this is the scene where Rod and Tina have just had sex. They go to sleep. She has another nightmare and she's killed in the bedroom. And that's when um, Glenn and Nancy walk in and they see that she's dead and Rod's there and Rod escapes. So that's why he's sort of blamed, and that's why I got him having the suspect counters and all of that nonsense. So I wanted
Hmm.
to tie all those sort of loose ends up. I like Dead Sleep though. I think that works great in this set because it's flavorfully correct. Um, Neg 4 already kills most things, but
Yeah.
um, I
Doesn't
th-
kill Freddy.
yeah, it's still it's still
It also
Black should have good removal anyway.
it gives you a way to kill something that Glenn is going to untap, too.
Yeah, that's true. Just in response,
Yeah.
exile it. Uh, I like that. So next we have Donald Thompson. I was a little bit concerned that this ability was too good, but it really is one of those things where you'd have to play it to find out. So this is me sort of pushing the power boundary maybe a little bit too much, but we'll find out. So Donald Thompson is a red and a white for a 2/3 legendary, and I saw you tacked on a class for him. He's a human knight, which I thought was kind of funny. And then he has tap any number of target creatures with power less than or equal to Donald Thompson's power. So what do you think about that? You think it'd be too powerful or not?
I think you could have easily justified this as a rare ability if you had like another like vanilla ability, like maybe vigilance on him too, you know.
Yeah.
But because then it actually you could use it while you attack too, and it would be like a way to get rid of blockers. But overall, I think it's cool. It's a cool design, and at rare, it's fine, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit concerned. I mean, being able to control usually any number of target creatures is not on a lot of cards as just
Hmm.
like a tap ability. So it's potentially a lot that you can get out of it, especially against any sort of token-based strategy. You would just lock that down pretty well. But I'd still be interested in seeing how it played. So Donald Thompson's Nancy Thompson's dad. He's the sort of lieutenant. He's the one that's hunting down Rod. But I think Nancy then starts to really believe that Rod's not the one, and Rod's not the one that killed Tina. So um, she even warns her dad that if he tries to kill himself in prison, that it's not real. And ultimately, Freddy does kill Rod in prison and makes it
Hmm.
look like a hanging, so it makes it look like a suicide, but it's not. Um, Next, we have Marge Thompson, who's Nancy's mother, and she is a black and a white for a 1/3 legendary human advisor creature. She's a rare. When she enters the battlefield, you may exile another target creature until she leaves the battlefield, and if a red or black creature is exiled this way, gain life equal to that creature's toughness. So eventually, it comes out that Marge Thompson was responsible for her and other parents were responsible for killing Freddy many years ago, or they thought they killed Freddy. So her flavor text is: we poured gasoline all around the place, left a trail out the door, locked the door, then whoosh. So they set him on fire, set the building on fire. He comes running out and he sort of curses them, and that's when he ultimately makes the deal with the Dream Demons to come after and exact revenge on all of their children. So
Hmm.
Marge Thompson, I like that you gave her the black and the mana cost because she's it's a little bit shifty and shady. Her behavior throughout the
Yeah.
movie. She obviously cares
Well,
about her daughter, but at the same time, she's not all innocent, you know?
the white black thing is all about like protecting your own, you know?
Yeah,
So like white is like protection, but then black is like looking out for yourself. So when you have that combination, it is like there's a small group of people that you're trying to protect. And in this case, it's her family, you know,
mm-hmm.
and friends of hers or whatever. But like there is a group that she specifically had in mind when she did perpetrated like basically a terrible act. And I guess advisor was probably the best thing I could think of for her as a like another creature type just
Yeah, I
because
like it. No, I like it because she does try at least to give her daughter advice a couple times, and she ends up taking him to. They both go to a psychiatrist, I think, at some point to sort of talk about her mental issues. Um, Next, we have Unending Nightmare. Jake designed this one. It's a 1 mana aura enchant creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step, and then it has Greater Evil. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Unending Nightmare unless you control a black creature. So I like this card's design. Do you want to talk about it a little bit? What you were came up with when you were thinking about it?
yeah, initially I had it as 2 mana and it tapped the creature when it came out, but I kind of felt like that was just too much going on,
Okay.
especially with the greater evil ability, which I wanted to have on there.
Okay.
Um, so I went with this instead, where you can use it as sort of just a lockdown for a turn if you don't have a black creature yourself. So then it's kind of more like a sorcery that just sticks around and keeps the creature tapped for a turn.
Yeah.
Um, but with the black creature, it then becomes like a paralyzing grasp or something.
Much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
And flavorfully, it works very well. I know Freddy sort of links nightmares with people sometimes where they
Mhm.
think they've woken up, but they're still in the
Yeah. No,
nightmare.
yeah. That
So,
was like a lot of it. It felt like a lot of the time you weren't sure. The line was blurred between what was real and what was not, you
yeah,
know?
always. I mean, Freddy Krueger to me when I was a kid was the creepiest. It was much, much scarier than Jason Voorhees to me.
Mm.
Uh,
Oh, yeah. There's something, it's because there's no safe state, you
yeah,
know? Like there really isn't a safe state. When you're awake, you're scared for your life when you're going to be asleep,
Yeah,
because you just know eventually you're going to have to go to sleep.
it was a great idea. What a terrifying notion.
Yeah,
Something that
amazing
you have to
conception.
do for a significant portion of your day, and that's when you're extremely vulnerable to just get killed.
Yeah.
So then finally we have Unknown Monster, which is also a Jake design card. This is 3 and 2 green instant. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest into your graveyard, and then it also has Greater Evil. If you control a black creature, look at the top 8 cards of your library instead, and you can put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield and put the rest in your graveyard. So I think I know what you had in mind when you designed this, but why don't you explain it?
Well, really, like the thing that I feel like we've kind of been a little lacking on is spells.
Mm-hmm.
So this was just my attempt of getting some. And honestly, we always go to white, blue, and black are the three colors that we like stick to for the most part.
It's true.
So it's and it is like it's just hard to design green, and especially for something like this where there really isn't a lot of green involved.
Yeah.
So I was mostly going for the mechanics of it, and trying to think of how green would be represented in a set like this.
Yeah.
And this kind of like surprise factor is something green's known for, and
Mm-hmm.
and the mystery of what's out there without you knowing, or like what's lurking in the bushes, all that stuff, is something that works for green. So when I was just looking at like images from the movie, this one kind of popped out as a possible useful one. And then I was thinking of like previous cards like Summoning Trap or Tooth and Nail.
Yeah.
And it just kind of worked in my mind that this would be how it goes. But like you can even think of your library as like your mind or whatever.
Yeah.
And deep within it there are nightmares waiting to come out or whatever. So
Very true.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's a good point because uh, I think a lot of times throughout this series, he sort of bases when Freddy creates or enters your nightmares, he sort of manipulates it so it's the darkest thing in your psyche,
Hmm.
which is why I liked this card so much because it's like the darkest, in your psyche would be you'd hope to hit your like biggest creature or something
Yeah.
like that. So very good. I like that. Very good. Liked Greater Evil. Great job on that mechanic. I was really happy with the collaboration on this set. I'm really
Yeah.
happy with how this one turned out. Actually, it's really nice. And I think you're right. We need to come up with more spells. That's my fault. It's just it's an archetype thing. That's how movies are made. That's really
Yeah.
what I'm discovering. It's like there's the white, the good, and there's the black, the bad, and then it's
Yeah.
hard
And I
to
think
go
it's
ahead.
not like a fault of your own because yeah, it is like protagonist, antagonist,
Yeah.
and then it really is just like kind of trying to see past those initial like good versus evil things and see
Hmm.
what the characters themselves are, and then also writing like basically you're kind of writing it. Like the fact that you did Rod Lane as green red was really cool to me. Um, both in that he's red like an outlaw, but green where yeah, everybody's looking for him.
Hmm.
So like it's more of a mechanical thing than strictly like his personality. Um, and I think cards like that are really cool. But yeah, I definitely noticed that we miss out on green a lot when we're making sets. So I would like to push green a little more sometimes.
I
But
would
yeah,
too. I
it's
think
hard because they're just mostly mindless animals, you
yeah,
know.
no, I gotta pick some movies eventually that have more green in them, and I don't think that's gonna be too difficult. We'll come up with that
Yeah.
eventually.
Well, I mean, when we made Jaws green, right? Like it was green blue
Yeah, yeah,
in the
Jaws
end.
was green.
So
That's true.
so like it's possible to do it, but like you initially had Jaws as green or black blue, which is totally the direction that I would go initially too. But it's like, well, he's not doing it because he's malicious necessarily, you
It's just
know?
a force of nature. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Um, I was just gonna say, ultimately, it would be nice to someday print all the sets as like and as like one sort of limited experience. You know what I mean? Where it
Yeah.
would be.
Like a cube,
Yeah, it would
just
be
a
kind of
movie.
cool. So I'm
That would
kind of
be
working towards that, and I think in order to do that, we're gonna have to do, as you say, sort of include green and other colors more often. So I'll start trying to be more conscious of that. All right, cyclical evolution. This week we're doing Torment, continuing in Odyssey block. So let's hop into this. This is a smaller set, so we don't have a ton to go over, but this is about the time I was starting to draft as a young man. I was starting to draft online. So first we've got Compulsion in blue, Pyromania in red, Narcissism in green, Mortophobia in black, and Hypochondria in white. And this is a enchantment cycle. Compulsion, the blue one, lets you discard a card from your hand and draw a card, and then you can also sacrifice it and draw a card, and both of those abilities cost 1 and a blue. Then Pyromania, for 1 and a red, you can discard a card at random and deal 1 damage to a creature or player, or sacrifice Pyromania and deal 1 damage to a creature or player. Then you have Narcissism in green. For 1 green and discard a card from your hand, you can boost a creature, give it +2/+2, or you can pay 1 green and sack Narcissism and do the same thing. Then Mortophobia in black, you can pay 1 and a black, discard a card, and exile a card in a graveyard from a game. And you can also sack Mortophobia and do that. Then you also finally have Hypochondria in white. You can pay a white and discard a card and prevent 3 damage to a creature or player, or sack Hypochondria and do the same thing. Not the most exciting cycle, but makes sense in this set because this is the birth of Madness, correct?
Yeah, this is the first set to have Madness in it. So, I mean, they had a lot of Madness enablers, which is good. I kind of think this is a lackluster cycle overall, with maybe the exceptions being Narcissism, Pyromania, and Compulsion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, Mortophobia can work within the environment. It gets you closer to threshold. It removes their threshold.
I see.
So in that environment, Mortophobia is fine. But Hypochondria stands out as like the worst of them all, which probably should have just been gaining life,
Yeah, or
instead
prevent
of
damage.
preventing damage.
Either or, I would have been okay with. I agree with Narcissism assessment, though. That's a great card. Very strong. And
for only 1 mana to activate, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a little combat trick. Even if they know it's coming like that, is just very powerful. So convert your lands into combat tricks. Those style of effects have always been really nice. And that even goes back as far as like the spell shapers, just discarding and getting abilities instead from Mercadian masks and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I think that they could have actually brought back spell shapers in this block, and it would have been great.
I think so too. Overall, I think, like you say, not the most exciting cycle. I think it's maybe the second abilities to sacrifice it to do the same thing. It would have been cool to sacrifice it and do something slightly different, don't you think?
Or like just a little more powered for twice as much or something like that.
Yeah. I feel like the design sort of fell flat a little bit because the second ability is just the same thing except sacking the
and at uncommon it's kind of like meh.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if they just would have doubled up on a lot of these, the second ability would have been fine. You're already investing 2 to 3 mana to get the card out in the first place, and then to have to pay 2 more just to, like in the case of Compulsion, draw 1 card is like pretty lame.
Yeah. 4 mana
but if
to draw.
Pyromania had done 1 damage to each creature and player when you sacrificed it,
Yeah, that would have been cool. Definitely.
Like stuff like that.
Yeah, so fell a little bit flat on the design. All right, next we have a common cycle with Flashback. We have Acorn Harvest in green, Crippling Fatigue in black, Deep Analysis in blue, Spirit Flare in white, and Flash of Defiance in red. So Acorn Harvest is a 4-drop green spell. It gives you 2 1/1 green squirrels, and then you can pay a green, a colorless, and pay 3 life to flash it back. Crippling Fatigue is 1 and 2 black. Give a creature -2/-2 until end of turn, and then you can flash it back for 1 and a black and paying 3 life. Deep Analysis, draw 2 cards for 4 mana at sorcery speed, and then it also flashback 1 and a blue, pay 3 life. Spirit Flare is 3 and a white instant. Tap target untapped creature you control. If you do, it deals damage equal to its power to target attacking or blocking creature an opponent controls. Then you can also pay 1 and a white and pay 3 life. Flash that back. Finally, Flash of Defiance for red. 1 and a red sorcery. Players can't block with green and or white creatures this turn, and then flash it back for 1 and a red and pay 3 life. This is a great cycle for limited. Crippling Fatigue was, I remember, a very highly played spell in that limited environment. Deep Analysis still exists today.
I think you still play that in Commander too, Deep Analysis. So
and Vintage Masters. So
yeah,
just obviously a very powerful card. Spirit Flare is one that I'd forgotten about, or maybe I just didn't even remember. But that seems actually like a pretty powerful effect. I like that one.
Yeah, it's kind of forgettable though. It still is forgettable. It just, I don't know. I like that card too, but never played with it personally, and I don't know. I think that and Flash of Defiance both are kind of like meh, you know.
That's true. I mean, Spirit Flare requires some setup, but I do like what it does for limited applications mechanically. I do think it's a pretty powerful effect, actually. It really.
I feel like the 4 mana is too much to ask for when you're also tapping a creature and like they have to be attacking or blocking, you know.
It is a lot of setup. That's true. I just think getting 2 effects like that in white it's almost like the one-sided fight cards are typically pretty good.
Yeah, that's true.
And this having that twice on one card, I think, is pretty powerful for limited. Flash of Defiance seems a bit too narrow since it's only green or white creatures. I think they're pretty much nowadays, it's like just dudes can't block, not specific colored dudes can't block, you know?
Yeah, maybe the most recent exception would be the Ruthless Invasion from New Phyrexia that said non-artifact creatures can't block, you know.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, that's true. They can do non-artifact. That makes a little more, that makes more sense to me.
To call out 2 specific colors, one of which is an ally of red, is kind of awkward, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It is weird. Green and white. It makes it much less good, definitely. It makes it sideboard only, whereas the other 4 are absolute main decks, no problem. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
But overall, very powerful common cycle, in my opinion. They're all at least playable somewhere. Flash of Defiance being kind of the exception as relegated to sideboard, but all of them are very main deckable, I would say, otherwise. Moving on, we've got the Dreams cycle. So we have Devastating Dreams in red, Insidious Dreams in black, Nostalgic Dreams in green, Vengeful Dreams in white, and Turbulent Dreams in blue. Nostalgic Dreams I've seen in Cube. It's sort of a storm card. The others I've kind of forgotten. So Devastating Dreams in red is 2 red sorcery, and all of the dream cards have additional costs of discarding X cards from your hand. In the case of Devastating Dreams, you have to discard them at random, discard X cards at random, and then each player sacks X lands, and Devastating Dreams deals X damage to each creature. So super powerful effect there. Insidious Dreams, you discard X cards, and then you get to search your library for X cards and shuffle your library and put those cards on top of it in any order. So you don't actually get to put it in your hand, but it is instant speed, so you can do it at the end of your opponent's turn. At least draw one of them. Next we have Nostalgic Dreams, 2 green sorcery. As an additional cost, discard X cards from your hand, and then you get to return X cards from your graveyard to your hand, and then you have to exile Nostalgic Dreams. Then we have Vengeful Dreams in white, 2 white instant. Discard X cards from your hand, and you get to exile X target attacking creatures. That's pretty powerful. And then we finally have Turbulent Dreams in blue, and discard X cards from your hand, and get to basically bounce X non-land permanents. So, what do you think about this cycle? These are all rares, by the way.
I think it's pretty cool. I think it's funny that Insidious Dreams is really expensive for 4 mana. Compared to 2, excuse me.
Yeah, with all the other ones. Why is Insidious Dreams 4 mana?
I would assume it's because of instant speed and like the effect is too good, they think, but really I think at 2 mana and sorcery speed it would have been just fine.
Yeah. I don't think it would have been too good.
It's not like you're actually putting those cards in your hand. Your opponent could do something as simple as shuffle something into your library from your graveyard or hand or something like that.
It throws off
And
all of your plans, yeah.
yeah, like you just discarded your whole hand to do nothing basically.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess overall, though, I think that Nostalgic Dreams and Devastating and Vengeful Dreams are probably the best in my opinion.
Yeah. I think I
Insidious has
agree
a
with
lot of
that.
potential in Commander, though.
Nostalgic Dreams is pretty difficult to use. Not like super difficult, but just the times when it's good are a little bit more narrow. You have to
Mhm.
have multiple, I would say, multiple cards in your graveyard that you want to get back, and then you also have to have multiple cards in your hand that you don't want. So
Yeah,
it's difficult.
and you're always trading down for everyone, you know.
Yeah, they're
So
all
like
like
you
card
get rid of three
disadvantage
cards,
sort of thing.
yeah, and Vengeful Dreams too. You're getting rid of three cards to get rid of two cards, you know, and stuff like that. So the the one good thing I suppose that can be said about all of these is that in multiples, it doesn't matter. You can just discard your extras, you know.
Yeah, that's true too. So if you're running like four of them, you can just get rid of a couple
Yeah,
to get some extra creatures, maybe.
I think I think Devastating Dreams might be my favorite though,
Yeah, I
just
like
because
that.
it has like overall the best effect going for
Yeah,
it.
a board wipe plus land wipe,
Hmm.
where you get to choose, how big essentially.
Yeah,
I like that. I think that's very good.
yeah.
And
I like that it's kind of it makes itself a little more fair by making you discard at random, so you can't just sit on lands and do it.
hmm
But overall, yeah, I
I
think that
agree.
it's
Um,
like a cool cycle. The idea is cool,
yeah, and
but
it once again works with both your threshold strategy and with your madness strategy. So this cycle at least fits very well in its set mechanically.
yeah.
Um, Next,
So,
we've got
sorry.
Mortal Kombat, and this carries on with the Test of Endurance, Battle of Wits sort of cycle. So, Mortal Kombat, unlike the video game, is 2 and 2 black enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if 20 or more creature cards are in your graveyard, you win the game. I kind of always found this one to be maybe the most difficult one to actually win with,
Mhm.
but I guess Battle of Wits arguably is as well. So, what's your opinion on it? Which one do you think?
I think Battle Wits is probably the hardest. Well, Chance Encounter is pretty difficult too. Um, but I mean, they're all hard, like to get going. To be honest, like none of them is really easy. Test of Endurance might be the easiest one to go off with, but I don't know. There's like if you're already discarding and stuff like that, you can get there, but usually those effects that let you discard your own cards are not creatures themselves, you know?
Yeah.
So 20 creatures is like a pretty significant part of a 60 card deck.
Mm-hmm. It is. A lot of times those decks only have, I mean, even super aggressive decks are running like 30 creatures or something. So
Yeah.
it's just difficult. And the thing that really turns me off to this cycle, um, it doesn't even work in limited. You can't even make 40 card decks that can
Right.
win with these cards. And I mean, maybe that's a minor nitpick, but you always want, you feel like, at least in my mind, the best cards are the ones that work well in limited and then work well in constructed, you know?
Hmm.
And these just aren't that. These are very limited in how you can play them constructed and completely worthless in limited. So, my only
Yeah, I'm
issue.
trying to think of like what would have made this a better card for black. Maybe if like 10 creatures died this turn or something like that. Like, I don't know. It's difficult to envision a card like in this cycle where black would be where it would work, I guess, for black.
Yeah, I don't know either, but all I know is 20 or more creature cards in your graveyard is pretty difficult to do,
Hmm.
at least outside of Commander. Now, can you win with these cards in Commander or not?
Yeah, you can totally win with these in Commander.
Test of Endurance, too?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of lame, but whatever. That's all right.
yeah.
All right, moving on. Next, we have Strength of Lunacy and Strength of Isolation. This is a black Strength of Lunacy, one in a black. Aura, Enchant Creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+1 and has protection from white. And then Strength of Lunacy also has Madness for 1 black. And if you don't remember Madness, you may cast this card for its Madness cost at the time you discard it from your hand. Next we have Strength of Isolation, 1 and a white. Aura essentially does the same thing as Strength of Lunacy, but reverse. So +1/+2 pro black, and then it has Madness for white. Very good auras. Auras that have protection from colors, I would say, were definitely highly playable at that time, don't you think?
Yeah. I think both these were pretty good. I'm trying to decide which one I like more, but I think they both had their place, especially in limited.
Yeah, I mean, I think my gut is to go with the pro black is better just because black has the instant speed removal spells and sorcery speed, targeted removal spells, so kind of makes sense there. Feels a bit strange to me that these cards have Madness.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they work with the name, but I don't like the art for Strength of Isolation necessarily.
I see. I think I didn't even make the connection on the name and Madness, but you're right. Strength of Lunacy, he's like a lunatic, so that's why he's mad. He's got Madness.
Mm-hmm.
Strength of Isolation, by being by himself, he's starting to go mad. Is that kind of what the idea is?
Yeah, and I guess the thing that I imagine for Strength of Isolation is that you're almost like soundproof within the circle.
So starting to make you mad.
Yeah, like you couldn't even talk to people outside of it, and that kind of isolation would make you go mad, I think.
All right, well, I guess it works for that. I just so flavorfully the Madness works on these cards. Just mechanically, it seems strange to me, the Madness on an Aura, but it works. I mean, it's still playable. We've already showed you plenty of cards that have you discarding cards, so get some extra bonus use out of these. Next, we have the Tainted Land Cycle. These are all uncommons, and it's Tainted Field, which is black-white, Tainted Isle, which is black-blue, Tainted Wood, which is black-green, and Tainted Peak, which is black-red. So maybe you noticed a trend. All these cards have black. They all tap for black. Now, they all tap for a colorless mana, but you can add the black or the other respective color only if you control a swamp. Now, what do you think of this cycle, and what was the purpose of this cycle? Why did they create a land cycle that specifically catered to black?
Well, Torment is the black set, so like green and white had kind of ebbed down in this set, and blue, black, and red had gotten a little more of a power boost. And then they put a lot of black abilities on non-black cards and stuff like that too.
I see.
So yeah, it's just the nature of the set dictated this cycle. And I like it actually overall. I think that this is the way to do it if they wanted to do like one color is in control of the plane or whatever the area is they're talking about. In this case, it's a continent on a plane.
Okay.
But I think this one works. I'm actually a pretty big fan of it, but I can see why there would be some criticism of it because it doesn't work for every deck, and that's kind of an annoying thing. But like the Nimbus Maze cycle or whatever, if they ever do that, I think that'll be the right way to do something like this.
What's the Nimbus Maze cycle?
Where you can tap it for a color of mana that is allied with a land that you control. So, like Nimbus Maze was tap for colorless, tap for blue if you control a plains, and tap for white if you control an island.
Oh, okay. No, I think I do remember that now. Okay. Yeah, so Tainted Lands, I never got a chance to play with them, but do you think they were played and constructed? Was there fixing at the time that made them good?
There wasn't like great fixing, so these might have, during Invasion there was great fixing, so once Invasion rotated, these might have been go-tos if you were Black X,
Yeah.
But Cabal Coffers was in this set, so mono black was already like a possible thing, and you could use these as just a way to splash within mono black without having to play non-swamp lands.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, these don't count as swamps, but still helps you fix and
And they
continue to
still
play
add
black
black
spells.
if you have a swamp. So, you know, if you need 2 or 3 black mana to cast something, they still work for you.
Seems like a legitimate cycle. Definitely a unique take on cycle lands, since typically they try and be more diverse in how they fix, and this was obviously made with an intention and a purpose. Next, we have the possessed cycle. Did I miss one? I must have missed one.
No, there's no black one.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. You said that because it's making them black, so there's no purpose to have a black of the cycle. Possessed Aven is blue, Possessed Barbarian is red, Possessed Nomad is white, and Possessed Centaur is green. These are all horror creatures with additional racial subtypes. Possessed Aven is a bird soldier horror for 4 mana, 3/3 flyer, and then it has threshold. It gets +1/+1. It's black, and it has 2 and a black tap, destroy target blue creature. And then we've got Possessed Barbarian, which is a 4 mana 3/3 first strike barbarian horror creature. And then with threshold, it gets +1/+1. Black, and 2 and a black tap, destroy a red creature. Possessed Nomad, I think you're seeing the trend here. So Possessed Nomad's 4 mana 3/3 white one with vigilance, and then it gets to tap and destroy a white creature. And Possessed Centaur is a 4 mana 3/3 trampler in green. It's a centaur horror, and when it gets threshold, 2 and a black tap, destroy a green creature. So they destroy their own colors once they sort of get possessed and turn. These are very fun flavorfully. I like it. I like how they work flavorfully, and it really fits well with the, as you said, sort of black being the focus of this set. These are all fairly similar. Do you have a preference on which one you like?
I guess I like the Aven the most because it has flying.
Yeah.
And a 4/4 flyer, once you reach threshold, that can remove potential blockers if they were playing blue as well, is pretty strong. Whereas like Barbarian, the 4/4 first strike is already really good, and a 4/4 vigilance and a 4/4 trample are already, pretty legitimate. The cool thing about Nomad, I guess, is that you can attack with it, then kill a
still
creature.
do it. Yeah, I was just thinking that. That is very good. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the picture on Possessed Nomad too, where it's sort of him sitting there, but he's a monster in his like reflection.
Yeah, I think it's like the least ridiculous of them, because Possessed Aven is just kind of like,
I like that face in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, whatever.
He's possessed.
And Barbarian just looks like a 2-dimensional clowny thing, like Shadow.
Yeah,
it's not really scary as much as it is just like almost comical.
Mm-hmm.
And Centaur it's interesting in that the reflection in the water is scary, but then like the shadow on the ground doesn't match up at all.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. I mean, it's supposed to be like a monster shadow form of him, I guess, but the hand thing sort of throws me off a bit.
Yeah, considering that like the reflection doesn't really, I don't know. I think the reflection would have been just a better way to do it in all of these situations instead of the shadow.
Yeah, I can see that. This is definitely a powerful limited rare cycle, so I like this.
Mm-hmm.
Next we have Zombie Trailblazer, and this continues the cycle we saw last week in Odyssey, where we had like Patron Wizard and the Master Healer, or is it Master Cleric?
Master Apothecary, actually.
Apothecary, okay.
Yeah.
But they're all 3, and then we also had Ceton was the last of that. So Zombie Trailblazer, continuing that cycle. Zombie Trailblazer is a 3 black 2/2 zombie creature. It has tap and untap zombie you control, target land becomes a swamp until end of turn, and then tap and untap zombie creature you control. Target creature gains Swamp Walk until end of turn. I actually played Zombie Trailblazer in a online constructed sort of casual zombie deck I had, and he played fantastic. He was a great card. I remember many times I was locking down basically just completely manipulating my opponent's land base.
Oh yeah, it totally screws them.
Yeah, and it really just buys you time to build up a zombie army that they can't deal with, and then eventually you just tap a couple zombies and make one unblockable, and then
hmm I'm kind of surprised that this one was uncommon. The others were all rare so far,
yeah, that is interesting.
and it feels like a pretty strong like effect. The fact that it can manipulate their fixing or whatever their lands
Hmm.
in like the turn you play it, it can act like a blight
Yeah,
or not a blight, but a evil presence.
yeah, yeah.
So
Change their land base totally, and he can do it himself. So just it turned out to be really good. I remember running as like a two of, and I was always really happy with it.
yeah,
Alongside like Undead War Chief and stuff like that. Um, so Trailblazer definitely gets the thumbs up in my book. That was a cool card. It played well. I liked it. Weird Harvest. This is the segment of the show where we choose a weird card from the past and dissect its name and picture, sort of talk about it a little bit. So, what better way to do that in Torment than with Barbarian Outcast? Barbarian Outcast is a 1 in a red 2/2 barbarian beast creature, and when you control no swamps, you have to sacrifice him. So, pretty awful card, but let's talk about the picture a little bit. Um, I guess when you mix a barbarian and a beast, you get a pretty weird looking creature because this thing has like a lizard tail. It's got like hooved feet. It has extra arms growing on it. Do you see any sort of beast that is supposed to be represented? Uh,
no, and actually, I think they just did Beast. I don't know why they did Beast, to be
Instead of
honest. I think
mutant?
Mutant would have been way more appropriate,
Yeah. Maybe this
or
is
even
this
Horror.
pre-mutant?
I think Mutants were. Oh wait, no, Mutants were the next block.
Okay.
Yeah,
So perhaps this guy should have been a mutant, but I definitely recommend checking out the art on this picture if you haven't. I think this is one of those cards where you look at it and you actually have to look close to realize how messed up it actually is.
hmm
Because when I
I
used to
think.
see it when I was younger, I totally didn't see anything strange about it. Uh,
Yeah, the thing I notice now looking at it is that bowl in the foreground.
yeah.
It has actually the face of Yawgmoth, like that, which is associated with Phyrexia
Oh,
on it. So I'm
interesting.
wondering if he's like not actually just corrupted, or if this was leftover art from Invasion Block,
That's cool. That's cool if that's true.
because that would like really explain the way that he's formed, his malforming, I guess.
Hmm. Uh, just a very strange looking dude. And he looks so much more powerful than Tutu because he's super buff and he's got this really badass looking
Well, he's
axe.
got a lashing tail, hooped feet, and four arms.
And he's
So
and he's dual wielding. He's got like a sword and an axe. So
yeah, the fact that he has a downside
yeah,
that isn't just can't block is weird,
yeah. So that's just strange. It shouldn't have been when you control no. I guess okay. I understand what it was going for. Basically, they forced him out to live in the swamp. So if you don't
Yeah,
control a swamp, that's why you have to sacrifice him. That's the
because he
guess.
wouldn't belong anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's just a weak card. Red, I guess, has historically had 2-drop 2/2s that sort of suck, right? I mean, that does happen
yeah,
a
that's
lot.
like a red thing. They're either
Yeah.
2/1s with no abilities or 2/2s that have a downside.
It's kind of a red and black thing. I feel like black creatures get the downside creatures as
Yeah, I
well.
think they're moving away from that more for black though. Like black can have aggressive creatures that have a downside, and red can have aggressive creatures that have a downside too. But I think recently, really recently, they've started to make black more of the stronger toughness-wise creatures, lower power.
Yeah. So
And
so it's like a blue territory they're moving into.
yeah, it's interesting because I feel like they just thought that red and black had blurred lines as far as what their creatures really represented. So they wanted to go that way with it.
Hmm. That makes
And to me,
sense.
it makes black almost more reminiscent of white now, which is
Yeah.
just
Well, I mean, everything's slowly power creeping, so they just have to really ultimately decide what directions they can go in each respective color pie, and and make sure they're not, breaking too many historic changes. Like to me, like faithless looting felt like a big change for red, but
Yeah, for sure.
you know,
I think that was their like, in my opinion, I guess it was really their first go at that kind of red drawing discarding effect that really got some play,
mm-hmm, definitely,
And I like it. I think that I don't like having blue be like the one that gets all of the card drawing effects.
yeah, and black gets
Yeah,
some,
and
but it
I
still
just
has the
like to
price.
see the way that another color takes it, and the fact that white plays fair with card drawing doesn't really get card drawing that often.
Yeah,
Makes a lot of sense to me.
mm-hmm, because their cards are already powerful on the front end. They don't get the
Hmm.
additional card value. And even green gets card draw occasionally, like
Yeah,
Harmonize, but more like Planeswalkers and, you know,
yeah,
um,
it's represented differently. It's more like meant to be wisdom and understanding,
yeah.
whereas like blue is like accumulating knowledge, and black is like forbidden lore, and then red is like heat of the moment, like realization almost,
Hmm.
you know.
That's a good way to describe it. I like that. So that's all for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. I think I haven't I haven't decided yet what the Make a Wish for next week is. I'm gonna have to run that by you, Jake, and we'll sort of figure it out. But I'm thinking horror for the rest of October
Yeah, that'd be cool.
would be cool. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon.